Hi guys, welcome to a video on English Language Paper 1, just to help you with your studies here. It is on Salem's Lot by Stephen King. If you would like to get in contact with myself, it's at Stacey Ray on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my website, www.staceyray.co.uk, for more videos. As I said, I'm just going to talk you through this paper. I have a notepad and pen ready. You might want to screenshot a few things, and I would encourage you to work through the questions yourself and see how you get on. Obviously, we're going to be analysing language here and structure, and then looking at question 5, and I'll give you a couple of examples as to how I start and how I teach it. When analysing language, guys, then obviously we are looking at single words, we're looking at simile, metaphor, personification, repetition. We need really to know our terminology, although it's not the end of the world, but it does make for a rounded answer. Adjective, adverb, verb, etc. And excuse me, things like semantic field. Also, when you're reading the extract first time, consider the structure, so how it starts, how it ends, any changes in focus. Vocabulary that I always give my students is here, so again, screenshot or make a note, just to make our answer more varied, really, in terms of analysis. And again, extending your analysis should be straightforward in terms of using connectives like that. It always implies that you have got more to say. Students often forget, guys, when they are doing paper 1, that you are giving information about the book at the top of the page. It is essential that you read it because it's telling you about the book in terms of letting you or aiding you with foreshadowing. Also, it tells you what type of genre you might be reading about, and it gives also little hints about the type of things to expect. So here you are told, author Ben Mears returns to Salem's Lot to write a book about a house that has haunted him since childhood, only to find his isolated hometown infested with vampires. While the vampires claim more victims, Mears convinces a small group of believers to combat the undead. So in there, we've got that it's haunted, we've got that it's vampires, we've got that it's an isolated town. So far, to me, this is a gothic horror book, so we should expect darkness and mystery. The extract is here, guys, but I am going to talk you through it and give you a breakdown of it as I go. So don't massively worry about not having a copy with you. But again, you can easily get this page of Salem's Lot on the internet. So it might be worth having it in front of you as I go. But I'm going to break it down anyway. So as I say, don't worry. So my initial observations when reading this would be the following. The fact that we are introduced to the darkness straight away. So that is the introduction. We need to comment on that for language and structure. It is followed up with creaked secretively. So think about secretively and then stealthily. Remember, these are just observations. The darkness is then repeated. Then we get this idea of a branch snapping. Danny, I'm scared, and he's whispering. So far, if you're making notes, guys, those are my quick observations. Pause the video, make a note so I can practice the response. So I'm going to go to the next little page for, again, suggestions and annotations. We get the counting, 1, 2, 3. We get, I see a ghost, I see it. Change of font, this urgency. The introduction of terror. The fact that he's blubbering. He starts to tremble. Tremble is repeated. The shadows are brought in again, linking us back to the darkness of earlier. He trembles again, but this time he is paralysed with fear. And then we've got the branch snapping again. There's absolutely loads in that. Now, you can obviously pick out your own if you pause the video, but they're just my observations. You've got blackness as well. Blackness and darkness together. We want to look at language, guys, and you want to take some of the vocabulary and think about how you would analyze the words. So dark, what connotations do we get from that adjective? What does it imply? What atmosphere is created? We've got the unknown, we've got danger, we've got perhaps gothic, we've got the fact that the children are in the woods and they won't be able to see much. Yeah? You've got create secretively. Look at that adverb, secretively there. Again, If there is a ghost, as mentioned, is that why it seems secretive? Is it difficult to see? Is it secretive because it's a vampire? We've got this implication of predator stalking prey, and that is definitely solidified with stealthily. Your semantic field of emotions, we get scared, we get trembling, we get terror, all of those things that kind of ruin the innocence of these two little children that are almost stuck in the woods and are more vulnerable, aren't they? Trembling is more physical for me, and scared is an emotion. We get the counting one, two, three. I think it does two things, and the alternative interpretations are it slows down the passage, and you can hear the kids like panicking and breathing. It also speeds up the passage. One, two, three. There's a ghost. And again, think about it's almost like a mimicking of a heartbeat, as the children almost have palpitations, don't they? Terror, as I say, is brought in. The fact that it's a hot iron implies pressure, and then the fact that they are paralyzed. If they are paralyzed with fear, they become a bigger target because they are unable to move. How has the writer used language to unnerve the reader? So there's your passage again. Look at it. What would you pick out? I've mentioned 1, 2, 3. I've mentioned the introduction of a ghost. The font, I see it shouting and urgency. Terror is introduced. Blackness. The blubbering of the children. The whispering of the children. The trembling. So again, lots in there. Why don't you try and answer and see what you come up with and try and time yourself? Question 3. Structure. I suppose that is a basic breakdown of what you can look for in structure. So again, screenshot it or pause the video, but we have to do how it opens. We have to do like mood, atmosphere, if there's a setting introduced. Pinpoint the locations in the extract where something changes focus or emotion or mood. And then we have to comment on the end. If you're looking for a 7 to 9, I do the following. I do equilibrium, disequilibrium, climax, foreshadowing, and syntax. Your equilibrium is when the extract is anywhere in the extract that's a state of calm. That's just right. It might not always be there. Your disequilibrium is setting up any time that the reader feels unsettled. So any moment where there's a single word or a single line where the reader feels unsettled. The climax of the extract will be the most tense moment. So again, consider in that extract by Stephen King, what moment makes us feel the most uneasy. Your foreshadowing comes from the start, but it's a great argument. So I would use the word arguably when you are doing foreshadowing, and you argue what we are warned about in the future. And then obviously we've got syntax there, which is your word order. That is a grade 9. That's a grade 9 skill. I'll show you an example of how I would start. So here it is. Well, in fact, if you're looking at the start, you want to hone in on the adjective dark, as I said, and that for me is disequilibrium, which is established with this secretive, stealthily vocabulary. The branch snapping, you could argue that that's the climax because it sounds like they've been found. But I think the climax is when Ralph shrieks, "I've seen the ghost, I can see the ghost." So again, it introduces the terror of the children. It introduces the villain in Stephen King's book here. Commenting on the end is straightforward, the branch snapping, because that's been repeated throughout. And every time the branch snaps, you know what that's the effect of that. It's as if they are being followed, and the villain, if you like, is closing in on the children. This is how I would start question 3. The immediate introduction of the adjective dark establishes the disequilibrium, as the connotations of this word are linked to horror and unknown dangers. Naturally, the reader feels uneasy. Furthermore, the disequilibrium is developed when the woods are described as creaking secretively. So again, that's how I've started. I would further mention disequilibrium in terms of the branch, and then I would go to climax for the ghost. Again, pause the video there and actually have a go yourself and see what you come up with, and then let me know. Question 4, needs 20 minutes because it is the 20 marker. We are asked how far do we agree that Stephen King creates the atmosphere of pure fear. I encourage my students to agree all the way through that the children seem to be vulnerable. So if we look at how I've started, it's as simple as this. Stephen King instills fear in the reader from the opening sentence and establishes this through the semantic fields utilised, dark, secretively, and shadows. This creates a myriad of emotions, while simultaneously setting up something mysterious, seemingly inhabiting the woods. As the extract progresses, this fear is further evoked by the repetition of the onomatopoeia snapped, as this implies that the children are being followed, perhaps by a predator, and are perhaps in danger. So what you can do there, guys, is for 20 marks, it is a side and a half to 2 sides of analysis. I do encourage my students to repeat question 3, really. You can still bring in climax and disequilibrium here as you go. Again, pause the video, have a go, time yourself, see how you can analyse that extract. Google the extract if needs be. And then we move to question 5. You've got the picture there, or you've got write a story which ends, the shadows remained. I teach this question differently to a lot of teachers, so I use either mythical links or biblical links. If you want my videos on Greek mythology, just go to my website, www.staceyray.co.uk. But because we've got the introduction of shadows here, I have gone down the route of the underworld, Hades, Persephone, and then I would bring in the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. Um, Orpheus and Eurydice, basically, they're married and she ends up in the underworld, and he wants to get her out of the underworld, and he begs Hades and Persephone to let him out with her. And Hades says that you've got one condition to get out. He says you've got to walk out of the underworld without looking back. Unfortunately, Orpheus does look back, and Eurydice is taken. So what I've gone with is this: defiance, a simple noun etched into the history of mankind. Oh, we had sinned since the dawn of time, since Eve ate the apple, since Adam followed her lead. The shadows of betrayal would last and eventually devour any glimmer of light. The immoral Hades and the formidable Persephone watched the efforts of their labour with a sinister delight. It began with the transcendent love of Orpheus and Eurydice. So I would do that for 2 sides. Check my Instagram, guys. There's absolutely loads on Greek myths and how to use that in your work. I hope this was useful. Go back, test yourself. You can catch me on Instagram at Stacey Ray, on YouTube Stacey Ray, or as I see on my website. It's good practice for your exam. So let me know how you do. And massive good luck in your studies, guys. Thank you.